How is chain CPI calculated using price relatives? Have you ever wondered how economists measure changes in prices over time? One method they use is the Chained Consumer Price Index, often referred to as Chained CPI. This approach helps us understand how inflation affects our daily lives. Let's break down how Chained CPI is calculated using price relatives. First, we need to understand what price relatives are. A price relative is simply the ratio of the current price of a good or service to its price in the previous period. This calculation shows how much prices have changed over time for each item. For example, if a loaf of bread costs $2 this month and $1 last month, the price relative would be 2. Next, we combine these price relatives with expenditure shares. Expenditure shares representing how much of our total spending goes to each item. These shares are updated regularly to reflect how consumers adjust their purchases when prices change. For instance, if the price of beef goes up, consumers might buy chicken instead. This adjustment is important because it shows how our buying habits change with prices. The Chained CPI uses a special formula called chain linking. This formula multiplies the price relatives adjusted by the expenditure shares across different periods. This creates a continuous chain of indexes that captures how our consumption patterns shift over time. To calculate the Chained CPI, several steps are followed. First, detailed data on prices and consumer spending is collected every month. Then, price relatives for each item are calculated between two adjacent periods. After that, these price relatives are adjusted using the average expenditure shares from both periods. This adjustment accounts for the fact that consumers might switch to cheaper alternatives when prices rise. Finally, the adjusted price relatives are multiplied together across all periods to create the overall index. This method is different from traditional consumer price index calculations, which use fixed expenditure weights. Because of this, the Chained CPI provides a more accurate measure of inflation. It reflects not only price changes but also how we adapt our spending habits. In practical terms, the Chained CPI often shows a slower rate of inflation compared to traditional measures. This is because it accounts for our ability to switch to less expensive options when prices increase. This feature makes it a helpful tool for understanding the impact of inflation on our purchasing power. It is also used for adjusting benefits and tax brackets to better align with actual consumer behavior. So, the next time you hear about inflation, remember that the Chained Consumer Price Index is a key tool that helps economists measure price changes and understand how we adapt to those changes in our everyday lives.